Hello everyone, this is Shudesh Nadhar and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. Today I will continue my series about Chaucer. Chaucer, the father of English literature, is the main concern of Block 1 of MEG 1 paper. In the first part of the series, I have talked about the life of Chaucer, the contemporary age of Chaucer, and the contemporary writers who were noteworthy. As we know, Chaucer was such an important literary figure that his age came to be known as the Age of Chaucer. And in this video, we will talk about all the important works by Chaucer. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you will be notified anytime I upload a video. And if you need online guidance on MEG course, contact through WhatsApp in this number 7501 298 229. Now coming to the important works by Chaucer. Chaucer was the first poet who preferred English language over Latin and French. It was a fashion of the time that people used to write in Latin and French languages. But Chaucer refused to be attached to these languages for his poetry and he made the East Midland dialect as the sole literary language of England for the ages to come. So, the modern English we are using today emerged from the East Midland dialect which was set up by Chaucer and was used in all his works. Another important thing is that Chaucer was the first one to introduce the rhyme royal form into English as a way of elevating the tone of his poems, and thus we find that he was the one who gave rhyme and rhythm to poetry in English. Apart from that, the themes in Chaucer's works mainly concerns with the characteristics portrayal of mankind and the different kind of people present during that time. He was not a moralist, but he was more of a satirist. He was a great lover of mankind. We have already discussed that Chaucer's life was divided into three periods: the French period, the Italian period, and the English period. In these various periods, Chaucer has written various works. Now we will discuss about those one by one. The Romaunt of the Rose is the first prominent work by Chaucer. This was not an original work by Chaucer, rather it was a translation work. The original work was written in French, titled as Roman de la Rose, which was an allegorical poem. This French work was translated into Middle English by Chaucer. The text of this book is found in three distinct fragments of translation, namely A, B, and C. But we still do not know which of these were actually written by Chaucer. The story of this poem begins with an allegorical dream in which the narrator receives advice from the god of love on gaining his lady's favor, and his love is symbolized as a rose. The narrator is unable to get the rose, and this was the entire plot of the poem. The next important work is the Book of the Duchess. This is an elegy written in the form of a dream allegory. Chaucer wrote this poem in order to commemorate the death of Blanche of Lancaster, who was the wife of John de Gaunt, a friend of Chaucer. At the beginning of the poem, we find the sleepless poet who lies on the bed reading a book about Ceyx and Alcyone. Ceyx, Ceyx and Alcyone. In the dream, the poet wakes up in a chamber where the windows of stained glass depicted the story of Tale of Troy and also the story of Roman de la Rose. There he also met a grief-stricken knight who told that he was sad because he played a game of chess with Fortuna and lost his queen and checkmated. The narrator of the poem takes the message literally and begs the Black Knight not to become so upset over just a game of chess. He is not able to understand that it is not a game of chess, but actually, by the metaphor of game of chess, the knight is talking about the game of life. Fate is playing against him, and fate has made him lose everything that he had. Then the narrator realizes what actually happened in the life of the knight, and then he wakes up holding the book still in his hand. He reflected on his dream and decided that the dream was so beautiful that it should be set into rhyme. The next important work is The House of Fame. The previous two works were written in the French period, whereas this work is written in the Italian period. This work, The House of Fame, takes the form of a dream vision and is composed in octosyllabic couplets. The poem contains 2005 lines and it is divided into 3 books. But it is an unfinished poem. A part of it is taken and inspired by Virgil's Aeneid. The plot of the poem is about the poet who falls asleep and finds himself in the glass temple in his dream. This glass temple is adorned with images of famous people and their deeds. He also meets an eagle who serves as a guide and they talk about the nature of fame and trustworthiness. The eagle says that he is a servant of Jove who seeks to reward Chaucer for his unrewarded devotion to Venus and Cupid by sending him to the house of goddess Fame, who hears all that happened in the world. So Chaucer climbs the hill and when he enters the house of Fame, he finds that goddess Fame has countless tongues, eyes and ears. These countless eyes, ears and tongues represent the seen, heard and spoken aspects of Fame. The House of Fame is a parody to Dante's Divine Comedy. Divine Comedy is also divided into 3 parts and Chaucer was influenced by this Italian poet, thus he used the same form in his House of Fame. The next important work is Annelida and Arcite. This poem tells the story of Annelida, queen of Armenia, who is being wooed by Arcite from the Thebes of Greece. In this poem also we find the influence of Italian works, unlike the first works of Chaucer having mostly the French influence. The poem has some elements of Boccaccio's work Treseida. The main plot of the poem is the complaint of Annelida about how she was ditched by Arcite and his false love, and this creates the lover's complaint motive. The next important work is Parliament of Fowls. This poem is also known as Parliament of Fowls, Parliament of Breeds, Assembly of Fowls, Parliament of Birds. Here fowls means birds, but the main name is Parliament of Fowls. The entire work is in the form of a dream vision and it is written in the rhyme royal stanza. This is one of the earliest works which was reference to the idea that Saint Valentine's Day is a special day for lovers. It is a poem that clearly presents the poet's feeling about art and love. The basic plot of the poem is that the poet is reading a book, Somnium Scipionis by Cicero, the great Roman classical poet. While reading this book, the narrator falls asleep and in his dream he finds himself in the marriage where all the birds come with a white eagle and they have a discussion on art and love. Saint Valentine, who is the saint, sits and talks about how love does not need power and love is enough for love. They talk about what real love and real marriage means, and the main message of the poem was love somebody for love's sake. Parliament of Fowls is Beastfable as well as a debate poem. It was written to celebrate the marriage of Richard II with Anne of Bohemia. The next important work is Troilus and Cressida. The poem retells in Middle English the tragic story of the lovers Troilus and Cressida, which is set against the backdrop of the war during the siege of Troy. The plot and characters of Troilus and Cressida was actually created by Homer, and later Boccaccio used the plot in his Il Filostrato. Thus, Chaucer takes the story from Homer and Boccaccio and he writes the poem Troilus and Cressida in rhyme royal. It is usually considered to be a courtly romance and it is a part of the matter of Rome. Apart from that, this work also inspired Shakespeare, who made a play on this plot and characters. And Cressida is said to be the first complete heroine of the post-colonial Europe. Troilus and Cressida is Chaucer's longest poem of about 8,000 lines. It is divided into 5 books. The story is about the noble Trojan knight Troilus who does not believe in God. This angers the god of love and he shoots an arrow at Troilus which makes him fall in love with the beautiful young widow Cressida. But Cressida's father has abandoned Troy and shifted loyalty to the Greek side. Through an exchange of prisoners, Cressida goes over to her father in the Greek camp and leaves the swearing loyalty to Troilus. However, she meets a Greek escort, Diomed, changes her mind and proves unfaithful. Seeing this, Troilus becomes so heartbroken that he battles furiously against the Greek and dies in the battle. After his death, Troilus goes to the 8th sphere, which is just below heaven, as he was not a Christian. So, the heaven was meant only for the Christian people, and as he was not a Christian, so he went to the 8th sphere. There Troilus tries to get some perspective of the foolishness of human concerns like war in love. In this poem, Chaucer also portrays the fickleness of love because we see how Cressida falls out of love of Troilus and manages to find another lover just in a matter of 10 days. However, Chaucer does not condemn Cressida's character. He is sympathetic to the cause of women, understands the plight of women in a male-dominated society and gives us reason behind Cressida's decision to desert Troilus. Cressida's character is complex. She is both beautiful and mysterious. She is also a practical woman who thinks before she acts. Troilus is a brave warrior, emotional and reticent. He displays the qualities of an ideal courtly lover. The next important work is The Legend of Gudumin. This is again a poem of dream vision and it is an unfinished poem. This is the first significant work in English to use the iambic pentameter. In the prologue of this work, Chaucer describes how he was reprimanded by the god of love and his queen Alceste. They are angered for the portrayal of women in poor light in Troilus and Cressida. So Alceste demands Chaucer to write a poem in which he will be talking about the virtues of good women and their good deeds. This results in Chaucer's writing a poem, The Legend of Gudumin. In this he recounts 10 stories of virtuous women in 9 sections, and the stories are of the legendary female characters like Cleopatra, Queen of Dido and so on. The next important work is the magnum opus of Geoffrey Chaucer, The Canterbury Tales. It contains 24 stories. This work remained incomplete as Chaucer died before he could complete it. In the general prologue, the 29 pilgrims are introduced, and according to the prologue, Chaucer's intention was to write 4 stories from the perspective of each pilgrim, as we have 29 pilgrims and 1 narrator in all 30 characters, and these 30 characters will be telling 4 stories individually. The total calculation makes 120 stories, but Chaucer was able to write only 24 stories before he died. The tales are presented as a storytelling contest among the group of pilgrims as they travelled together on a journey from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of St. Thomas Becket at the Canterbury Cathedral. Chaucer used 29 pilgrims coming from different sections of society so that he could be able to show all the kinds and types of people who were living in the Middle English society, and also he could give a wide range of classes. Structurally, the collection resembles Boccaccio's The Decameron, and thus it is assumed that Chaucer was inspired by this work to write the Canterbury Tales. Now, the Canterbury Tales needs even more attention. So, in the next part of this series, I will be only talking about the Canterbury Tales in details. Till then, stay connected with this channel and wait for part 3. If you need customized emoji notes, just WhatsApp me in this number 7501298229. If you like the content, like, share and subscribe to the channel, and all your valuable remarks are welcome in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.